Right, Martin Noakes. Oh God, where do I start? So, the Whole of the Moon is an incredibly iconic song in Middlesbrough. First released in '85, I think, for
Yeah,
the Water
85.
Boy.
Yeah, yeah.
'85, and then 1990. So I know you're re-releasing your version. You're no longer with Little Caesar anymore. Obviously, that's the band that a lot of people in Middlesbrough will know you from.
Yeah.
So you released that song in 1990. You're re-releasing it. So it was actually April 1990. So 33 years on.
Yeah.
But I'll ask you a couple of questions, Martin. So I've sent you all the books now, which is The Whole of the Moon, The Blood Moon, and A Very South Bank Story. Can I ask,
Yeah.
before I ask you about books, were you aware of the Lee Duffy story before that?
I was, funny enough, I didn't know much about it, but in 1990, when that's when he was killed, wasn't it? In 1990. 91 was it? Okay. Well, in 91, I heard somebody told me that there'd been an article about this guy who'd been killed, and my version of The Whole of the Moon was his favourite song,
Yeah.
if you like, his favourite record. So that's all I knew. I didn't know anything else. I just knew that this guy had been in a newspaper because he got killed, and that my version of that song was his favourite version.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd done the book 5 years ago, and I started doing it. And what I made a decision is I was going to use that song or title as a vehicle. To give you an inkling of how big that book was. 30 was stolen in the first month from Middlesbrough Waterstones.
I know.
So
I read it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of people I'm bringing to the bookshops. It was it's the biggest book by the best-selling book by a local author in Middlesbrough. So but The Whole of the Moon, and then I did The Blood Moon, and then A Very South Bank Story. What do you think of the books then? So you read them all. Have you watched the two documentaries?
I have, yeah, I have. Very interesting. I mean, it's not a world that I live in, I have to tell you. It's a completely different world to my world. But yeah, I mean, shocking, scary, and I mean, it's just a different world to mine, really. Hard for me to relate to that world, actually.
Yeah, and it is an incredibly gripping story. It's incredible, really, considering the guy never even reached his prime, and there was so much kind of chaos, mayhem. This is back then before there was social media. He's been dead now longer than he's been alive. You're right in saying, Martin, your song was his favourite. His best friend told me, he said he was never that fussed on The Whole of the Moon by the Waterboys.
Oh,
So
really?
it was your version. And obviously it's on his grave and that as well. It was his funeral song. What made you, because obviously I've read quite a bit about you this week. You're naturally creative. I've looked up a lot of your songs, political, quite some of them. But what made you decide in your band Little Caesar, I'm going to cover that classic, iconic, that song? Because I spoke with Mike Scott a couple of years back, and I'm not sure whether you were, but he actually told me what that song is written about, and it's quite scary, really. It's very poignant to the Lee Duffy story. It's about a young prince that dies. He has a meteoric rise, but dies before he reaches his full potential. A lot of people think it's about the song Prince, about the singer. It's not. So that's what he told me that song was about. What made you sing it?
It's a bit of a disappointing story, this one, unfortunately. Me and John, I used to have the guy called Johnny Love Muscle. That was his stage name, Johnny Love Muscle. And we were signed up to a band, to a label, and they called us in one day and said, "Look, we found a song that we think you could do justice to." So that's really it. I mean, I did know the song. I'd already heard the song, and I loved it. And I thought, yeah, why not? We'll do it. So from that moment on, I produced it, and so really, it wasn't even my idea or our idea. Really, it was the record label's idea, which is slightly disappointing.
Well, I've had a lot of digging up, and actually, the Waterboys, considering Mike Scott written it, he really liked your version, didn't he?
He did. He got in touch with me once, yeah, to say that he liked it. When it was out in 1990, he sent us a message to say that he really liked it. Which is great, you know. I mean, brilliant that he liked it.
Yeah. So, Little Caesar, tell me, because obviously, it's kind of dancey. The video is fantastic. Red glasses. You were a lot younger then, you know.
I was a lot younger then.
You know, it's kind of been a lot. So it was. I've had a look, and it was on versions of like dance albums, you know, like kind of. So it's a very
deep. It was on the Deep Heat 7 album, which was a huge album. It's a huge album. So it was quite a big song. It was a big radio hit in Spain. It got to 68 in the UK, but the Deep Heat 7 album got to #1 in the album chart. So, you know, sold more than 100,000 copies. So a lot of people know it or knew it back then. Yeah, and it was good fun making it, and when I just made it again now, it was great fun making it again now. Actually, it's a brilliant song, and it's great to sing.
So, Little Caesar, how many was there of yous?
2. There was me and Johnny. That was it.
How long did I did band?
How long? That was the only song we released. Well, that's not quite true. There was a B side as well, but that was the only song that we released, actually. So before that, we were a different band, but we'll talk about that a bit later. So I did a few projects with Johnny, and we had different names for each project that we did, really.
Right. And I mean, certainly in Middlesbrough. Listen, I mean, do you know what? It's. I think I put it in the book. I'd never met Duffy. I'd heard of him when I was 8, and I believed in Santa Claus till I was 9. I was aware of him, and I was only 11. And I'll never forget that feeling when the whole kind of the town was like, you know, I was into football and wrestling, so but I remember it was just an unusual feeling, and it was like. And the song was everywhere. And that song in Middlesbrough, I mean, I grew up for most of my life there. And if you go in the pubs, if you put that song on, you know, 9 times out of 10, Lee Duffy will be. I've been having a look at a lot of the songs, a lot of the versions of The Hole in the Moon. And when you have a look on the comments on YouTube, there's always a reference to that's Duffy's song. That's Duffy's song. Did you get like, obviously, you know, it was a huge hit kind of thing, and it's still fondly remembered now. But did you get any like kind of people reach out to you, any famous people or people stopping in the street about it?
No. I mean, I not at all, actually. No, we did. Me and Johnny, we did a couple of personal appearances in some clubs in Cornwall. I seem to remember we did one, and a couple of other places. But no, all in all, it was a very well kept secret in some respects, actually, apart from Middlesbrough, obviously, where it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it's you know, I mean, are you familiar with Middlesbrough? Have you been to Middlesbrough?
I haven't, but I was in another band where the lead singer came from Middlesbrough. That was Red Box, but we'll talk about that a bit later as well, if you like.
Right. So, why are you releasing? I mean, I've listened to it, and you can tell. I mean, it's very different to the first one. I listened to it a couple of times the other day. I haven't shared it because you asked me not to. I don't know whether maybe I can after this or whatever you want me to.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So the first one, there was a lot of kind of trumpets, and you know, I think in the part of the song where it says "You just flew," you can hear what are them things? Like a firework, and that's a reference to That's so that
Oh,
you've got that in the.
You mean the comet sound?
Yes. So that's what I was thinking. So I don't think you've got it in the second one, have you?
It is, but it's a little bit quieter. It is in there, but it's a little bit quieter.
But the first song, your first version, was kind of more trumpets and almost a little bit reggae-ish as well.
Yeah, there's a reggae kind of feel to it. Yeah.
But this one, as I said, you can tell it's you, it's your voice, and it's a more, I suppose, with 33 years on. What made you decide to sing it again, Martin? Because it's going to be coming out this Friday, isn't it?
Yeah, well, part of the reason I did it again is because it's not available anywhere. Our version of it is not. Yeah, you can't. It's not on Spotify. It's not on. It's on YouTube, obviously, but it's not on Spotify. It's not on. Not nowhere else really. It's just on YouTube. So I thought two reasons really. If somebody wanted to use it in the film, then a new version would be able to be used. The old version would be quite difficult and probably quite expensive to use. Whereas this version would be very cheap if anybody did want to use it. And that's one of the reasons I did it. And there's a lot of interest around it as well. Not around me, but around the Lee Duffy story. So I thought it'd be a good time to do it, really.
Yeah, it's you know, I mean, I've written let me think. So I've done 22. I've released 22. I've got another 3 ready to come out, and I'm doing number 26. But you know, when you go in kind of Waterstones, and you'll see your Freddie Foreman, who's elderly, and the Craze, and the Essex. Duffy's unique because he was so young. And it's such like, I don't think there'll ever be a repeat. Obviously, because society's changed. You get 5 years for Gary and a bun. That's going without a bullet.
Yeah.
But you know, it's.
And also, you know, you've got cameras everywhere now, absolutely everywhere. So you wouldn't be able to get away with half the things that you got away with because you would be tracked, you would be spotted straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I often wonder. I've just finished watching Peaky Blinders, and
I love it.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what? 100 years on, I wonder if they thought, you know, in 100 years there'll be this whole industry built on us. And with the Duffy thing, I mean, I'm done with true crime now. But I mean, I've never really kind of exposed this. But over the last couple of years, I've had the BBC contact me. Do I want to be in? And I'm done. But I mean, I've often said, no character's bigger than his myth. But with Duffy, I think it is. I don't think I'll ever be involved in a series of books again that will cause so much excitement. And you know, it's not because of my skills as a writer. It's very much with the Paul Sykes thing. Obviously, that's going to be a film, and this Duffy thing, I'm finished with the 3 books, the 2 documentaries. I know there's going to be a film with Paul Venice has played Lee Duffy in the Sears kind of story, but I don't think it's going to finish there, Martin. And I think, to be honest, I think you've done the right thing, because I think sooner or later, you know, and some of the famous people I've spoken with the last couple of years, like Martin O'Neill's read all the books, finds it fascinating. The actor Adam Fogarty played Gorgeous George in Snatch. So there's a lot of, like, you know, a lot of people it's intrigued with the story. You know,
it's a phenomenal story. You know, it almost sounds like it couldn't be true. Almost, you know, it's so unbelievable, but it obviously is true.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, I don't think it's going to stop there. I think it will go on, and you know, I mean, Bram Stoker written Dracula, and that was a flop in his lifetime. So, you know, it's like I can see somewhere later they will, with the Duffy thing. As I said, it's just such a one-off story. So what? Obviously, when did Little Caesar fall? Then was it 91 itself?
We had the one song out in 1990, and that was it. We did some other stuff together, but that was the only thing Little Caesar did.
Right. And I've watched quite a bit of your stuff. You're obviously very creative with your music? I mean, what got you into music?
Oh, I've always wanted to do music. When I left school, I was very fortunate actually. I got an apprenticeship with a helicopter company, Bristow Helicopters, and I did an apprenticeship there. I learned a lot of life skills there and engineering. But I got a chance to go on a tour when I was doing my last year, and with a band called Sweet Sensation. They were a 70s band, and so I decided to do it. So I left what was a secure job with good prospects to go into a career with no security and little prospects really. So I joined this band, and it all went wrong actually. In about a month's time, it all went wrong, and I was out of work, and I thought, well, I could go back to Bristow's, but I don't really want to. So I decided to play in clubs and pubs and stuff, and gradually I built up a little repertoire of places to play, and then I started working with some proper session musicians, and from that moment on, I didn't look back really. I mean, I had some really quite lucky and good breaks. So I ended up playing. Well, I used to sing a lot of radio commercials back then, back in the 80s, early 80s. So I sang radio commercials, and with a guy called Tim Cross. He was Mike Oldfield's keyboard player. That was my first good break. And then I was working with a guy called Tim Rennick, who's an amazing guitar player. He's played with everybody, Bowie, Clapton, you name it. He's played with everybody. So that little group of people eventually became part of a backing band for a band called Red Box. There were just two guys who are Red Box, and I was again fortunate that I got asked to get involved with that. And Red Box had a couple of big hits. They had number 3 in the UK, and that was number 1 across a lot of Europe. And their second song got to number 11 in the UK, but again was number 1 across a lot of territories in Europe. So we did lots of television work, Top of the Pops, Roland Rat, of all things, Checkers Plays Pop, all of those things that bands did back then. We did. I say we. I wasn't in the band. I was a session person in the band, but it was great. It was really good fun. And then after that, I carried on doing. I never stopped doing radio commercials. I kept on doing all those kind of things. But then I made a song with Johnny Love Muscle back in 1988, which became a very big hit in Ibiza at the time, and we got signed up by Pete Waterman, and
Really?
So Pete Waterman was our manager, and he was our publisher, and the record label that we went with in the end was Rough Trade Records, and to cut a long story short, it wasn't a big hit in the UK charts. It got to number 68 again, like The Hole in the Moon got to 68. Both of them got to 68. But it went on to become a huge record in Ibiza. But that was before there was any money in Ibiza, so there wasn't much money coming our way. But it was released in a number of different territories, and it did quite well. So that was then, and then I got to know Simon Cowell quite well back then, because he was always at PWL, which is Pete Waterman's studios, and he then took a song off us, a song that a little boy band called Yell did. They had a couple of hits. The song they took off of us should have been the first single, but in the end it wasn't. So it wasn't. It was on the album, but it wasn't a hit single. But yeah, so I've been around the charts for quite a while, really. I've always been hovering around there, but never actually getting a big thing in the charts, really.
So obviously you've kind of, I dare say, I mean, obviously you've got a career away from music.
No, that is what I've managed to just about make a living out of music all my life. Well, since 1981.
Right. But obviously you've done, like you said, the adverts, your commercial, like your, I don't know, documentaries. Have you done voiceovers?
No, I've recorded a lot of voiceovers. I did do one voiceover, actually. I did do one voiceover just on an advert. But no, most of my work has been writing music. Sometimes you get commissioned to write a piece of music for something, and that's fairly good money when you do get those jobs. There's not many of those around anymore. There's not much of anything around anymore, but Yeah, so that's my main thing has always been writing music and creating music, really.
Yeah, you've got a YouTube channel. I watched a lot of your stuff this week. Am I right in saying, Martin, you've now kind of, it's almost like you found your love back in the music. Because I've noticed you've been a little bit more prolific these days than you were years ago.
Yeah. Well, thereby hangs the story, really. I've had, in the last 3 years, I've had about 6 songs banned, and there's nothing wrong with them at all. They've been banned because they literally go against the official narrative of COVID. So the first one I had banned was it's called COVID-19 the Musical by Frankie Goes to Nowhere. That was because of the lockdown, and that got banned within 36 hours of it going up on YouTube. It was going mad when it went up there, but YouTube pulled it within 36 hours. I've had, and then last year I teamed up with another guy, a guy called Michael Manuel Chaves. He's known as Mad Mix, and we had a number 26 download hit in the national charts, and that was called Killer COVID. And again, it completely tore apart the official narrative. And that they literally took it out of the charts. The minute it got in the charts at 26, and we know more people were buying it the next week, it just disappeared. So it snuck in there, and they didn't even see it. I don't think it snuck in there, and then they pulled it. So yeah, so my life now is really mainly conspiratorial, actually. So most of my songs now are conspiracy songs, and you've only got to look around you to see what's going on. There's a lot of things that are not right with this world right now, and it's not just England; it's the world, really. So there's huge problems, and a lot of my songs try to highlight those problems. So it started off in a way. My first big conspiracy song was my song about 9/11, about the third building that fell on 9/11, which was called Building 7. And that song has been seen millions of times. It's in a big movie, a Romanian movie that's had 30 awards. It was premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. Me and my wife went to the premiere, and in that song, in the middle of that song, there's a reference to bird flu. It's right back then, they've been planning this stuff for a long time, and I've been aware of it for a long time. So 30 years I've been looking at this stuff.
And you've got a song, Tony Blair kind of mentioned in it. Am I right in saying a lot of your songs, Martin, the media would see it as going against the grain, and then they're controversial?
Yeah, controversial is probably the word. There is so much more to know about Tony Blair. He was called, back in his university days, he was called Miranda, and this came up because there was Clarissa Dixon, her name was. She was one of the 2 fat cooks, or 2 fat ladies, or whatever they were called, and she worked with him when he was a young lawyer, and they used to call him Miranda. And the reason they called him Miranda is because Uranus, the planet Uranus, has got 13 moons going around it, and the closest one to Uranus is Miranda. So there's a whole different story about Tony Blair that people don't know about. And if you research him, I've got to be careful what I say, but if you research him and some deviants, you'll find some very interesting stuff about him.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do? What's Martin Noakes' day-to-day schedule now then? What are you full-time, part-time?
Full-time. I'm working harder now than I've worked. You're quite right. I'm more prolific now than I have been for a long time. I get up in the morning, go down to my studio and write music, and it's a job to me. But it's a good fun job though. I enjoy doing it. So yeah, that's what I do, and I try and get a message out there to make people question a few things. Really, that's what my goal is, just to get people to question their reality and what the government is telling them. Is that actually what's going on, or are there other things going on? So I can tell you one thing that's going on right now is, and this is not a conspiracy theory, you can check it out. Your local council, I almost guarantee your local council, as well as everyone else's, will be planning to introduce a thing called 15-minute cities. And what they're doing is they're cutting off the lifeblood of towns and cities. So there no cars are going to be allowed in there. And these are, in effect, they are actually the climate lockdowns. So it sounds good when they tell it to you that everything you will need will be within a 15-minute radius of your. You can get to it in 15 minutes. So shopping, doctors, anything you need will be in that 15-minute thing. What they don't tell you is that to leave that area and go into the next zone, if you like, you're going to have to pay to start with, and then they'll let you do it to start with a certain amount of times. I think it's 80 times a year you can do it for nothing, and then after that you get fined or you have to pay to do it. And then as time goes on, they will reduce the amount of times you can do it for nothing, and it will then be literally locked into your little zone. So it's freedom of movement is under attack hugely.
Obviously, your music is in your blood by the sounds of it. How many instruments do you actually play?
I'm not a very good player. I play piano, I play guitar, I sing. I mainly sing, actually. I'm quite good at doing Beach Boys kind of harmonies. I can do that kind of thing. But overall, I'm a very average player. But with modern technology, I can make it do some amazing things, really, because I've got an ear. I know what I want to hear, and I can make it. I make it happen, really.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, people watching there, has anyone's got any questions for Martin? Just so you've got your YouTube channel. Martin, after this interview, I'm asking you for all your links to send me. So if anyone's watching this later, I'm going to share it on lots of different pages. Anyone wants to get in touch with Martin, what's the best way? I'm going to put all the links in the bio, but what kind of things are you on?
Twitter. I've been banned twice from Twitter. I've been banned from Facebook. I've been banned. I've had a couple of channels shut down on YouTube. So the one where my 9/11 song's on, I don't put anything up there anymore because I can't risk putting anything up there in case they take that down. So I'll send you some links that you can post. That'll be a good idea.
Yeah. And what kind of music? What influences it? I mean, obviously people know the Whole of the Moon and that song. I mean, people, they literally think that was the only song Duffy listened to. What kind of influence you? Because I've been listening to your other stuff and I'm trying to put my finger on some of the things. Where's your? I mean, are you indie or jazz or whatever? What you?
I suppose if I was gonna say I was into anything, it is out and out pop music. Literally pop music. So I love catchy tunes that stick in your head, even if they're crass sometimes. If it sticks in your head, I love it. So I haven't really got a preferred act as such. I used to love Paul McCartney, not as much now, but he's written some amazing stuff. Squeeze, I like Squeeze. Anyone who writes a good catchy pop song, really.
So you forever will be the guy who sang the Whole of the Moon, Little Caesar, Duffy's song. Listen, there's a lot of I mean, Dominic Negus, a boxer friend of mine, I've done his book. He loves that song and it's been covered so many times. But you're the song that Duffy loved. Basically, if anyone wants to get in touch with you regarding, obviously, I mean, you didn't write the song, but am I right in saying that's yours, like rights?
The version that I've just recorded belongs to me, yeah. Obviously, it's not my song. It's not my song. Yeah. It's Mike Scott's song, but yeah, that version of it, I own the copyright to that version.
Right. When can can I share it straight after, or?
Yeah. I mean, what I'm trying to do here is because nobody buys music anymore. So me and Mad Mix, when we had our hit last January, we didn't even get it didn't even raise £500, didn't even generate £500. So the reason that is because nobody buys songs anymore. So if you can get people to buy a song, you can get it in the charts quite easy. So you don't need many people to buy a song now to get it in the download charts, but you still won't get any. I mean, this song might get some airplay, could get some airplay. My other stuff wouldn't get any airplay. It didn't get any airplay because of the subject matter, you know. So if people bought, you know, if people bought this from Apple, for example, if 1,000-ish, I reckon, bought it, it would be in the top 20 probably. It's that few people. It's no sales at all really. Because when I got going back, the Red Box stuff sold, you know, 350,000 singles, that kind of thing. You know, it's so you don't sell. No one buys it anymore. It's all on Spotify and that kind of thing. You know.
I mean, I listen to Spotify daily. Is much of your stuff on Spotify?
Yeah, if you put my name into Spotify, you'll hear my pop songs. You'll hear my conspiracy album, and you'll also hear my other singles that have come out as well.
And what's the plan?
The other one to listen to is Mad Mix, MAD space MIX, because I've co-written all that stuff with Mick.
Right, and as I said, I'm going to put all the links in the bio that you're going to send me, Martin. What's the plan for you now? Then, you know, are you just going to keep doing music? Will you be writing when you're 99? What's the plan?
Well, that's probably the plan. I mean, I'm 61 now, so I still feel pretty fit, and you know, my ears are still working, which is a lot of my guys in my industry. Their ears aren't working anymore, but I'm very careful how loud I listen to stuff. I'll tell you a quick story actually. Now, this could be completely wrong, but I used to play with a friend of mine. We had a little duo. We used to play every other Friday at the Thomas à Becket pub in London in the Old Kent Road.
Boxing game.
Yeah, right. And one night we were in there. It's particularly memorable to me because of what happened and because you wrote the book now, actually. We used to play for a couple of hours or an hour and a half probably, and then we would stop, and then they put the music on, the loud, really loud music in the pub, you know. And one night we'd finished playing, and we were just starting to pack up, and I heard the biggest punch I have ever heard in my life. It was louder than the music. This guy came flying across the room, and he hit his head on the stage, and he was down lying by the stage, motionless. So the bouncers came and picked him up and threw him out, really. He could have been dead, for all I knew. And I just wondered whether that could have been Duffy doing that, you know. I just wondered. Well, yeah, that would have been the 90s. That would have been the early 90s.
Yeah, he was frequent in London a few times, his close friends have told me. Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Mark, when you're looking at yourself now and on them videos and the glasses with the red lights, and you know, I watched the video this morning where you're ripping the paper and it says, what's that first thing?
Man lands on the moon.
Yeah, but there's a saying. What's the first bit?
What the astronauts say, you mean? Yeah.
Or something like that.
Oh my God, I can't remember. That's terrible. I can't remember. How bad is that? Yeah. But in answer to your question, I never watch myself if I can avoid it. I find it painful to watch myself. So I'll leave that to other people if they want to watch it, but I certainly don't.
Because I mean, when did you record this new version, which is out in 3 days?
About 9 months ago.
Right, so you've timed it quite good as well, because obviously there's going to be a film out later on in the year, and this, as I said, I'm sick of saying it. I mean, I get so many. I got asked to do, you know, the Essex Boys. I don't know the case. I wanted to cover a story on someone's brother was in the car, and I'm done. And as I said, but it's always with the Duffy thing that the people try and claw me back, and you know, and and I can never see it going. And I think it will the next couple of years. And I think now people will know you're kind of connected. Wouldn't surprise me if people reach out regarding you. Obviously, we've spoke for a couple of years now. You're very approachable regarding that. If anyone did want to reach out to you,
yeah, there's not a problem at all. I mean, I don't know what people would want me to do, but you know, I'm very approachable.
And your voice is literally like, as I said, you can tell it's new, it's updated, but you've still got a cracking voice. You know, you can still. I listened to that and thought, that's Little Caesar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, back when we did it, first of all, there wasn't auto-tune. There is now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I didn't use much though.
Yeah, I've noticed. I mean, I'm going to share the links on your video, so you'll notice, because I'm going to put it on the Duffys because I've never released it. It will get a lot of views. So that's your channel now, and if anyone wants to message you, you'll get all your questions.
Yeah.
Martin, is there anything you want to say?
I will look at that and I will answer. If anyone's got a question for me, I'll answer it definitely. What's
your channel called?
Martin. It's a really weird one. My brother couldn't say Martin when he was younger, so Martin's always gone anytime you try and get Martin. So he used to say Martin. So Mardin. Marndin.
Yeah,
I'll send you the link.
Yeah. But anyone wants to jump over to Martin's channel, The Whole of the Moon, I'm going to put it everywhere after this, so you will notice that a lot of people start listening to the new version. And are you going to be releasing more songs? I mean, obviously you write songs. Have you ever thought about? Here's a question for you. So the first documentary, there was 2 songs written by Charlie Thomas, really, really good. So one was, sorry, someone just read that. So it's called 355, and that was the time of Duffy's death. And the other song was Flying Jacket. Obviously, he was in a flying jacket. And then there was another song. So there's 2. Oh yeah, right. And then there's another one called Leon Dabney. And I forgot who sang that. Oh, that's terrible. It's in the documentary. And Leon Dabney was Lee Duffy, but they just didn't want to use a name. Young lads, you know, college, didn't really want to get the crap that I've had. So that's 3 songs, and they're good. I mean, I'm going to send you them all after this. You know, have you ever thought about writing a song? Because Martin, this might come as a bit of a shock to you, and it might be surreal, but you have a connection. He knew who you were, loved your song. He's got it on his grave, and it was his funeral song. Have you thought about writing a song on the Duff?
I haven't, but it's not something that's out of the question. There's a lot of material there to write a song about. You know, it could be quite an interesting song, definitely.
Yeah, I will send you the 3 songs that I've just mentioned there, and when you listen to them, you know, I mean, if you have a look on Spotify, I think 1 or 2 of them, 2 are on. I might be all on, but they've got thousands of, maybe tens of thousands, because people, when they've watched that documentary, they went, "What was a song? What was a song?" And it's almost written like a poem, some of them. And I think they're fantastic. I think they're absolutely great. So I think if there was anyone who was merit to write a song, would be Martin Noakes.
Well, never say never.
Yeah. So Martin, is there anything you want to bring up or say or mention?
No, just I thought the books were really well written. They're excellent books. And like I say, it exposed me to a world that I didn't really understand or know. But obviously that those worlds are out there, and you know, it's very interesting apart from anything else. No, not really. I just do what I do. I keep a low profile, and that's it.
And you're based in Crawley, am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm in London quite a few times. I'll be there a couple of times a year. How far is Crawley from London?
Gatwick Airport. You know, it's basically it's about 26 miles, something like that. It's not
Right,
far.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
but you know, you got all the trouble with the driving and stuff in London. You'd have to get a train and stuff, and I'd pick you up or something. But yeah.
Well, as I said, I'll be there a couple of times this year, so I'll definitely give you a shout. Do you know I was in London last year? Was the year before. I was with Alex Reid. I don't know if you know him. MMA
No.
cage fighter. And I said, just meet me at so and so. Can you drive? And he went, Jamie, I can't. He said, if I drive in there, it'll cost me 40 quid because of the congestion. So up north, none of that happens.
Yeah, I know. Of course. Yeah. Well, you say that. That's going to change with the 15-minute cities. That's what they're doing. Yeah,
right.
They're introducing that right across the world. It's not just our cities; it's right across the world. They're introducing that.
And it's like, you know, London compared to, I went in a pub and it's like £6.40 a pint, and I'm like,
don't.
Yeah, in Middlesbrough it's £2.50 a pint.
Oh, bloody hell! But I suppose it's probably job wages are lower and house prices are lower. Is that right?
Well, there's a place in Billingham, which is just outside of Middlesbrough, and that's the cheapest place in Great Britain to live. But Middlesbrough had 2018, I think it was the capital of knife crime in Great Britain. A lot of people got life sentences. I think it was 15 in total. So it does, you know, it's good points and it's bad points. But Martin, that's just been absolutely brilliant. I had it in my head for a couple of weeks. I thought I definitely want to get you on, have a chat with you. As I said, I'm going to put all your links in this. If anyone's watching this next week, 2 weeks, next month, like the sound of Martin Noakes, want to get him, I don't know, ask him for anything. Martin's links are all in the bio. So if you click on the link, you'll get directly into Martin. I just want to say thank you so much, Martin. It's been an absolute pleasure, sir.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been equally a pleasure for me because I love the books and you're a very prolific writer and it's impressive. It's impressive.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, sir. Have a great night.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, mate. Bye.
Bye.